Imagine not being able to read the paper because your hands were shaking. Imagine not being able to read newsprint as your world faded to black. The National Federation of the Blind, Newsline, Indiana. Monthly Report. With your host, Lee Martin, and co-host, Florence Myers McSwine.
Welcome to the National Federation of the Blind, Newsline, Indiana's Monthly Report. And I'm your co-host, Florence Myers McSwine.
And I'm your host, Lee Martin, and we certainly want to welcome you all back. And today we have a very special guest. Here at Black History Month, I just feel so, elated to have such a man of this stature in our presence today. And welcome to the show, Sergeant.
Thank you very much, Lee. I appreciate it.
And, Sergeant Matthew Stewart has been on the force for 35 years. And I read about him in a newspaper publication, the first black publication or African-American publication placed onto the National Federation of the Blind Indiana Newsline service. And that's the Indianapolis Recorder, which has been around over 100 years. Now, being a totally blind citizen, you're probably wondering, how did I read about it? Well, I read about it through a fantastic free service offered by the National Federation of the Blind, and it's also sponsored here in the state of Indiana through our Talking Book and Braille library services. So this free service, I have the options now to pick up a telephone, a landline phone, or pick up a smartphone. I use the Apple devices to access the service, and as well as the digital talking book player that comes from the National Library of Congress, which is free, by the way, as well for blind and vision impaired citizens, as well as the Victor Reader Stream, another device that we use throughout this community. So there's over 460 newspapers around the state in the United States. We have over 15 international newspapers that you can read 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And it also populates throughout the day. So if there's fresh news, you can get fresh news by accessing those devices and accessing NFB Newsline. And if you follow our commercials, you'll be able to pick up the information on how to contact us so that we can get you signed up and subscribe free to this service. Florence, you'll tell us a little bit about the magazines?
I certainly can. Now, Lee, while I love reading the newspapers, I really spend a lot of time reading the magazines. There is a magazine for every taste. I'm into fitness, so I love the magazines that's pertaining to fitness. There's WebMD. It's got a lot of information on healthy eating, healthy living habits, and things like that. And in addition to that, the diabetic forecast is very informative. It gives me also information on healthy eating. Don't have to be diabetic. It's just a matter of just, eating healthy. There's magazines on recipes and goodness. There's a plethora of information right at our fingertips through our magazines and other publications.
Well, let's don't forget about the AARP magazines and newsletter. I know you read those too, don't you?
What are you trying to say?
So without throwing any more shade, we'll be right back here on our show with our guest, and we'll be talking about the Stewart speakers. I tell you, I cannot wait. So join us. We'll be right back.
thousands of Indiana residents feel isolated from the world due to vision problems. Thanks to the National Federation of the Blind, visually impaired Hoosiers can hear newspapers, circulars, and magazines from across the globe.
I'm a Vietnam veteran. I'm blind. I read Stars and Stripes on NFB Newsline.
Learn more by calling 855-963-6476 or visit nfbnewsline-in.org.
Subscribe free to NFB Newsline.
Connect, engage, and be inspired through the Steward Speakers Series brought to you by Matthew Steward. Thursday, March 8th, attorney Valerie Jarrett, the longest-serving senior advisor to President Barack Obama. Tuesday, April 10th, NBA basketball great Magic Johnson, a legend on and off the court, currently the chairman and CEO of Magic Johnson Enterprises. For more information on the Steward Speaker Series, tickets, and sponsorships, call 297-2905 or go to stewardspeakers.org.
Welcome back, and we want to talk about the Steward Speakers. And I want to inform our audience once again that I had the pleasure of reading the Indianapolis Recorder to learn about Mr. Matthew Steward and the speakers, Steward Speakers. And I called Florence up and we talked about it, and just during the Black History Month, and having Ebony added into one of our publications. Florence, how do you feel about that? I mean, I know I feel great about it.
Well, like I said, I love reading the magazines, so I think that it was, right on time for Black History Month. Ebony magazine was a very great pick. It's got a lot of information basically that I know that I'm going to really enjoy in the future. It's been a long time since I was able to read Ebony magazine, and I'm glad it is part of our publication through NFB Newsline.
And for those subscribers that are looking for the Jet magazine, that publication has been taken off of Newsline, unfortunately. They were sold, and so hopefully at some point in time we can bring them back. And for the gentlemen that keep asking me, can you still see the centerfold? Well, they taking it off, so we won't be able to see it anymore. And I think that's something. When you say, Mr. Stewart, when you want to see the centerfold?
Well, that's an idea.
So tell us a little bit about the Steward Speakers.
So Steward Speakers is a not-for-profit organization that does a number of things, but its primary outreach is an annual lecture series. So Steward Speakers Lecture Series, so it was started about 32 years ago now. I am the founder and president of Steward Speakers. We seek to inform, to educate, to empower the community to make an impact in their own lives, individuals to make an impact in their own lives by bringing in nationally recognized luminary speakers to the city of Indianapolis. We've had the opportunity to bring people like the late Ed Bradley from 60 Minutes, or Harry Belafonte, or the late Julian Bond, Susan Taylor, formerly of Essence Magazine. We've had the opportunity to bring in Steve Harvey and Colin Powell and the late Julian Bond. We also had 2 days ago, Hill Harper come in. So over the course of those 32 years, we've brought in over 100 national speakers. Those speakers, when they come to Indianapolis, they do three things primarily. One is they conduct a workshop in an area school. We want to show individuals national role models. Although we have teachers and lawyers and TV hosts, if you will, who are role models here locally in Indianapolis, we also have national role models, such as I've named that can come in. These are individuals that people may only see on television, or they may only have the opportunity to see them once and sometimes not close up. So we make sure that the speaker will go to a school and conduct a workshop with students, and then secondly, to do a community lecture so that the broader community will have the opportunity to participate in hearing from these speakers and to help set the stage nationally. And then finally, we try to always make sure that our speakers will have some opportunity to do a media event. So either we'll hold a press conference, or we will have the opportunity for our speaker to go to a set and at least talk about what they see the national issues are as we move forward.
Those were some very profound names that you have had here.
Yes.
And I just want to tip my hat to you for, having the wherewithal to even start this. Now, how did you get started in this? What inspired you?
Yeah, so I was a political science student down at Indiana University, Bloomington. And when I was a student there, I participated in a student government group called Union Board. Union Board was responsible for bringing all of the speakers to campus and some plays and other performances to campus. And so I focused in on, being a political science major, I focused in on the lectures, those speakers. And so we had people like Julian Bond and Dick Gregory and Bill Cosby come to campus. And it was much easier then because I didn't have to go out and raise dollars. We used student activity fees to fund these activities. So, but I just loved listening to speakers, national speakers, so that we could garner a bunch of information from them and then act on that information. And so it was when I graduated and came back to Indianapolis, we found a void. There were not those national speakers coming to Indianapolis on a regular basis, other than the fact of when Indiana Black Expo was having its summer celebration, or the Indianapolis Urban League would have their annual day. Pretty much speakers were going to Chicago, they were going to Cincinnati, Ohio, or going to St. Louis, but they were kind of bypassing Indianapolis. In fact, I like to think that that's how we came up with the name Indy No Place. We wanted to try to get Indianapolis on the map with national speakers coming to Indianapolis to inspire, to empower, to educate our community, and also to learn about what Indianapolis is all about and take that on the road when they leave.
Mm-hmm. And so this is an annual event then?
This is an annual event. We do approximately 4 to 5 speakers each year. We mirror the academic school year, so we usually start up in October or November of each year, and then it goes, we have an event in February, March, and April.
Okay, so there's one coming up?
There is one coming up. Valerie Jarrett is coming up March the 8th at IUPUI at the Campus Center. Valerie Jarrett was the senior White House aide to President Barack Obama, and she was responsible for the White House Council on Women and Girls. And so during Women History Month in March, we wanted to bring somebody that could inspire, empower. We didn't know at the time that Michelle Obama was going to be here on last night, and we certainly had an opportunity to hear her. But in March, Valerie Jarrett, who is an attorney, who is her focus when she was in the White House was on engagement of our communities. So she will be here on March the 8th, and then our final speaker for the series will be Magic Johnson. So Magic Johnson will be here April the 10th, and that's at the Marriott downtown. There's a dinner. Another component that we always do with our speaker series is we always have a meal or an hors d'oeuvre reception that precedes the speaker getting up to import information to us.
Okay, so with these events coming up so soon, are there tickets now? Are they still available?
Absolutely. There are a limited number of tickets still available. People can obtain tickets by going to our website, which is stewardspeakers.org. So www.steward, STEWARD, speakers.org. Or our office telephone number for Steward Speakers is area code 317-297-2905. Area code 317-297-2905.
Well, thank you for that.
And so, how many individuals that you have supporting, or staff that you have?
So our staff, we only have one paid person on staff, but we have a plethora of volunteers that work with us. In fact, without our board of volunteers, and also we have a board of directors that guide the organization. But without our volunteers, none of them receive payment. In fact, all of them are required to purchase a season pass as a part of working with Steward Speakers. Again, it's a not-for-profit, and we try to do what we can to impact students, impact this community, and just to learn as much as we can and to try to make a difference here in the city of Indianapolis.
So then funding then, you have several sponsors then, I gather?
Yes, and I'm glad that you mentioned sponsors. So our title sponsor for the speaker series for the last 4 years has been IUPUI. IUPUI has been our title sponsor. And then the other two major sponsors, the Lilly Endowment and U.S. Customs and Border Protection. And I might hasten to add that the U.S. Customs and Border Protection and the Lilly Endowment have been sponsoring this event for the last 25 years.
Awesome.
IUPUI just came on board the last 4 years, but it just seems like once we attract a sponsor, they just love what we're doing. They appreciate the impact that it's making here in the community, and they tend to stick with us. So we're honored to have IUPUI powering the Steward Speaker Lecture Series.
Okay.
Well, I know that we are honored to have you in our community.
Yes, we are.
Because of all the work that you do, to service community. I mean, you're just a breath of fresh air. And we want to let you know, we from here at the National Federation of Blind Newsline monthly report want to let you know how much we appreciate you and the efforts that you prevail in our community. So we're going to take a short pause, and we'll be right back with this extraordinaire Mr. Sergeant. What else can I call you? Sergeant.
That's good.
Just so many hats that he wears to, bring about awareness in our community. So we'll be right back here on the show. Stay tuned.
If you or someone you know is visually impaired or print challenged, the National Federation of the Blind has a resource you need.
Wow, I scored a touchdown when I found sports on NFB Newsline.
I enjoy reading TV guide listings on NFB Newsline.
Learn more by calling 855-963-6476 or visit nfbnewsline-in.org.
We are the nation's blind. We read NFB Newsline.
It's free.
Welcome back, and in this segment we'll continue our conversation with Sergeant Matthew Stewart. Mr. Stewart, okay, you gave us a lot of information. Share some more with us.
All right. So Steward Speakers, again, being a not-for-profit, our primary focus being the speaker or lecture series, but we also do a couple other things, and one is we convene conversations here in Indianapolis. So, for example, the Indiana Commission on the Social Status of Black Males came to us and said, hey, we're about to hold our annual conference, and we just wanted to see if you could bring together, if Stewart Speakers would bring together 5, 6, 7 key individuals here in Indianapolis around the issues of education or social justice. And so what we try to then do is to reach out into the community and bring together key individuals from the City County Council or the Juvenile Justice Center or the General Assembly, other key people in the community that we think might be able to help the Indiana Commission on Social Status of Black Males just fine-tune those issues and points that they want to develop in their conference. And so we were able to do that. We've reached out around books that people have authored, and we brought a small group, 100, 150 people together just to talk about the books. So any key issue that's going on in our community, if we're approached by an individual or group to convene a conversation around that, our board of directors looks at that and makes a decision on if that's something that fits with our mission. And if it does, we try to do that. A second thing that we do is an annual road trip, a cultural road trip. So we've been to Washington, D.C., in fact, several times. So the first time that we went to Washington, D.C. is when the Dr. Martin Luther King Monument was erected. So we went at the opening of it. The second time we went was the Million Man March, so anniversary. So, and then most recently we went when they opened up the African American Museum. So we charter a bus and we go on these trips to learn more again about our culture and who we are. But most importantly, we have lots of fun on the bus going to the location, and then obviously while we're there and then coming back. When we went to the opening of the African American Museum, we had the opportunity to see and hear from President Barack Obama, from Oprah Winfrey, from Denzel Washington. We had the opportunity to take a day trip to Baltimore, Maryland, where Freddie Gray was ended up being killed in the back of the police wagon. So we actually went to where he was initially stopped and to the housing community where he grew up. We also went to the Empowerment Temple where Pastor Jamal Bryant is the pastor there. So we have a lot of opportunity to learn about our culture, our history, who we are, and to fine-tune what is going on across the country, because generally what's happening in other parts of the country, they're also happening here in Indianapolis, either now or they soon will be. So we've also taken road trips to Atlanta, to the King Center. We've also, last year we went to Detroit, which until the African American Museum was built in Washington, D.C., was the oldest and largest museum in the United States of African American history. And so after going to Detroit, we stayed in Detroit, but we also took a day trip over into Canada. So this year we're going to June the 15th through the 19th, we're going to Buffalo, New York. And then from Buffalo, we're also going over into Canada. Again, we're tracing the line of free slaves coming through the United States over into Canada. So it's an excellent opportunity. It's an affordable opportunity to come, to have fun, and at the same time to learn about our history.
Okay, well, I know being inclusive, that sounds something like what we would like to do.
Yes,
Florence.
it does.
So, we may have to talk about that.
Yes.
Because I've often wondered, whatever happened to blind slaves? And it's just been a question since I lost my sight. So we're going to take us a short pause, and we'll be right back for the closing of our program today.
I am a blind vendor, and one of the things that I truly miss is reading Vending Times magazine.
Hoosiers can hear Indiana magazines, circulars, national magazines, and information from across the globe. Learn more by calling 855-963-6476 or visit nfbnewsline-in.org.
It is a fantastic service.
Subscribe free to NFB Newsline today.
The National Federation of the Blind knows that blindness is not the characteristic that defines you or your future. Every day we raise the expectations of blind people because low expectations create obstacles between blind people and our dreams. You can live the life you want. Blindness is not what holds you back.
Well, we're at the conclusion of our show, and Florence, it's been a great show, and Mr. Stewart, we just want to thank you for coming on to the show.
Thank you, Lee.
And we want you to leave us with your words of wisdom.
Well, absolutely. So I just have two quick quotes that I always just keeps me focused and on task. The first one is an inscription as you walk into the main library downtown Indianapolis, and it says, "Time by the minute slips away. First the hour, then the day. Small the daily loss appears, yet it soon amounts to years." And so it just reminds me that we don't have a lot of time and that our time is very valuable, and we've got to do every waking moment that we have as much as we can to make it better for those that are coming behind us. And that just reminds me, one of the speakers that we had was Dr. Marian Wright Edelman, founder and president of the Children's Defense Fund. She always, her favorite quote, and it has become mine too, that service is the rent we pay for living on this earth. So it's not free. You can't just come on here and do nothing. You can't just live here in this community rent-free. You've got to make a contribution. You've got to give back. And so with the Stewart Speaker Series, that's what we try to do. We're trying to do our own little bit on our own little corner to make this world a better place to live. So this is the rent that we're paying here in Indianapolis.
Well, just thank you so very much. And I guess I'll have to start paying my rent.
I think you're doing it.
And we look forward to collaborating with you in the very near future. And community, please look up the Stewart speakers and pay your rent. We'll see you soon.
The National Federation of the Blind Indiana Monthly Report. For more information, go to nfb-in.org or call 855-963-6476. That's 855-963-6476. The National Federation of the Blind encourages you to live the life you want.